Hello, and thank you for joining us for another video in our High Impact Governance series, What Great Boards Do Differently. In this video and teaching, we'll focus on the roles and responsibilities of board members. By far the most crucial key understanding for any board member is to know specifically what their role is and what they're responsible for doing. And again, this is brought to you from Leaders Building Leaders, where our mission is to be the difference maker in the leadership development of individuals and organizations. And I will be your host today. My name is Tom Miller, and I am the founder of our organization. As mentioned, our organization focuses on 4 key elements of public charter schools. Leadership, because everything rises and falls with leadership. Operations, and we help organizations strengthen their systems. We help focus on academics because by far that is the most key important aspect of any school is that students learn. And finally, the buck stops with you board members. We help charter school boards better understanding their roles, responsibilities, to lead purposeful meetings and effectively oversee your organization to assure it's meeting its promise to the community. During this teaching series, we will always be focusing on the 6 key roles and responsibilities of any board member. 1 is establishing and evaluating student outcomes. 2 is establishing and monitoring management compliance with policies designed to maximize legal compliance and ethical behavior of everybody in your organization. 3 is approving and terminating contracts and evaluating the executive. 4, oversee and approve the use of operational finances. 5, establish and monitor the organizational goals, always focused towards charter school renewal. And 6, develop the board's capacity to understand governance. Through our high impact series, you can have, you have access to all of these. We focus on communication. We focus on keeping the main thing, right? The Pareto principle. We ensure that boards understand that dialogue is not decision-making, so meetings should be filled with action. We teach boards how to build trust but verification processes within their daily meetings or their monthly meetings. Stronger fiscal oversight, because it's the #1 reason why public charter schools close. How to create the culture you desire through building effective policies. How to recruit and orient new members. Measure whether the organization is actually successful, and most importantly, how to ask great questions. Because good questions inform, but great questions will transform the organization. Feel free to reach out to me to have access to any of these other videos. So throughout this particular teaching, okay, you will benefit by learning how to implement sustainable cultural operating systems to solve your greatest challenges. Lead the organization through effective governance and evaluative practices. Ensure legal compliance and value-oriented decision-making. And most importantly, allocate the entrusted public funding to build a vital programs and meet your promises to the community. That's our goal at the end of the series, that you as a board member will feel comfortable in all 4 of those aspects. We follow this formula for greatness. 1, every organization needs to establish a shared mission and vision. Anybody who doesn't have this like-minded shared mission and vision should not be part of the key decision-making of any organization. Okay? You need to stop the bus and let them pull over. But organizationally, the board must have a shared mission and vision. 2, develop relationships of mutual trust and respect. With no trust, no unity, there will be no progress. And finally, set clear performance expectations. Evaluation should be based upon no surprises. Okay? Your goals, the goals that you set as an organization, should be the goals and the evaluation set forth for the school's executive and the organization as a whole. That includes yourself. So the formula for greatness. Most importantly, we teach boards to be aware of destination disease. And this is the same thinking, getting you the same results results in destination disease. Okay. When's the last time you took a deep dive into whether your organization has continued to make annual growth as an organization based upon all the goals that you have set forward? Before we get started with this teaching, I want to thank you for your commitment to your organization's vision, community, and vitality to ensure a positive education experience for all students. Being a charter school board member is extremely difficult. I know that because I am one. And I know being a volunteer, a steward, not necessarily a volunteer, what I call it, we're stewards of the organization, making sure that our organization is the best that it can be. So congratulations for volunteering your time and effort on such a worthwhile endeavor. All right, so thank you for your trust and attention. Let's get started. So this session's goals, you will be able to identify the first steps in developing a highly effective and sustainable governance model, and you will master the roles and responsibilities of a charter school board member. First, I want to make sure that we recognize common pitfalls of public charter school boards. The number one pitfall is that the board lacks diversity. It doesn't have a balance of individuals with differing skills and perspectives and backgrounds. Right? It's a bunch of the same types of people who think the same way, but don't necessarily bring in those diversity and skill sets. So what are the needs of your board? Make sure that you have a diversity skills sheet. We have one. We're certainly happy to share that with you, but you should be doing constant surveying of your board to see what the skill sets are, so you can always be sure that you're recruiting the skill sets that are needed. And you should have a viable recruitment plan, a vetting process, and it's great if you have a structured standing committee. You could be constantly using these non-board members that are on your committee to be your future board members, and that's talked a little bit more in our governance structure video. Micromanaging. Okay, the board becomes entangled with issues normally entrusted to the administrators or the teachers. Right, so how does your board ensure that this does not occur? Do you have a clear roles and responsibilities contract? Okay. Do you have a clear executive job description? Is it very clear between what's manager's responsibilities and board's responsibilities in all aspects? Right. Founder syndrome. This is another problem. This is the ineffective and exclusive decision-making structure and process. Hinders the school's and the students' overall success. If you've got one or two people making all the decisions of the organization, specifically from the board's aspect, it makes it very difficult for the person who's in charge of operations. Okay, so what processes and procedures are in place to ensure that you do not have founder syndrome? So one would be make sure you have members and position term limits, clear conflict of interest statements, clear nepotism policy, just effective policies overall that are reviewed annually. We've talked about a clear roles and responsibilities contract, and also having a governance and executive evaluation. These tools can ensure that you don't have founder syndrome. If one or two people are doing the majority of talking and motioning during your board meetings, you clearly have a problem. And it's one voice or not at all, so not one person ever speaks for your board. The next pitfall is internal dissension, and this typically comes from unclear roles. Okay, so often the results of unclear roles or members reacting negatively to differing personality styles. And again, if you don't have a clear roles and responsibilities contract, please reach out. We're happy to share our template with you. You can email me at tom@leadersbuildingleaders.com. Okay, so I just want you to think back. If you've ever worked in an organization, or maybe you currently work in an organization, if there wasn't a lot of clarity in regards to what you're supposed to be doing, most people will fall towards what they are comfortable doing, what they think needs to be done. And so I always say, if you don't give somebody specifically directives of what to do, they will find something to do, and it's not normally what you want them to do. The next pitfall is no plan for development. So most board members receive little or no orientation or ongoing training. They've never read the bylaws, the charter application, or the agreement. They don't understand the reporting that they're getting from the board. They can't explain the difference between management and governance, and they rarely review meaningful data on the school's student performance. And finally, they're unaware of the vast number of statutory and regulatory items which the school must apply. So you've got to be intentional. Invest in your people as a board. Okay? A certain percentage of your funding should be reserved for training for your board members, your new board members, and ongoing training as well, okay? Because they are the key stakeholders of the organization. Every charter school has closed based upon the actions or the non-actions of a charter school board. And this is a perfect segue right into it. The actions and the decisions of the board are why they close, and it's very clear that finances are the number one reason why charter schools close. However, the mismanagement of the finances comes from poor oversight on academics, poor oversight on enrollment, poor oversight on payroll, right? Third-party contracts. I mean, just a constant mismanagement, and the oversight of that management is the problem. The first warning signs are the failure to produce timely audits or conduct basic required oversight, okay? And this, I want you to think back to times when you've asked your principal to produce reports or your committees to produce reports. I sit in board meetings all the time, and I'm baffled when standing committees either have nothing to report, or they don't have the report ready, or they're just giving it to the board for the first time at that meeting, or when charter schools miss reporting to their authorizer. These are clear signs of failure, okay? And it's very important that all reports are timely and accurate. And if you are the accountability measure in the organization, you should not be allowing anything to get through. So again, one more time, board's roles. Establishing and evaluating student outcomes. This does not mean that you test students or teach students. It means that you set the bar, the bottom line, in regards to how the organization will perform academically, socially, discipline-wise, attendance-wise, anything. And then you also approve the evaluation measures to get there, right, or to show progress towards it. The principal tells you how we'll get there, okay? So you establish the bottom line and you evaluate the progress. Establish and monitor management compliance with policies designed to maximize legal compliance and ethical behavior. Again, you create the box in which everybody operates in. This is how boards can still manage the school without getting involved with management. You create policies to ensure success and the culture that you desire. These policies should be evaluated each year to make sure that they are actually getting you to the results you desire. Approve and terminate contracts. Any contract that comes through, you should have a bottom line. Any contract of value, say $5,000, should be approved by the board. And each year it should be evaluated to say, are we actually getting bang for our duck in regards to this contract? And part of that is evaluating the executive's contract. Okay, approve, terminate contracts, evaluating executive. This is third-party contracts and human contracts, right? Teachers' contracts are based upon recommendations from your executive. You evaluate the executive whether or not they do a very good job of managing their contracted employees. Okay. Oversee and approve the use of operational finances. Okay. It doesn't mean that you pay all the bills. It doesn't mean that you're the bookkeeper. It means that you get timely, accurate fiscal reporting to make decisions on as an organization. Establish and monitor the organization's goals. Okay. So we've got student outcomes we've already talked about, but these are organizational goals. This could be your overall enrollment. This could be your growth and capacity. This could be securing a facility. It could be a specific financial goal. Okay, always focus towards renewal. And every charter school board member should know there's 3 key criteria to charter renewal. One is that your academics are comparable to the LEA in which your school resides. 2 is that you've had no significant findings on your audit over the last 3 years. And 3 is that at the time of your application for renewal, the school meets all local, state, and federal compliance guidelines. So it's good to be responsive rather than reactive. If you're only trying to get better or actually looking at your data towards your last couple of years of your charter school, that's going to be a problem because it's going to take a lot more time repairing. So prepare for renewal. We're always having goals focused on those 3. And finally, developing the board's capacity to understand governance. Every board meeting should spend time getting better as an organization. Okay, we've got lots of tools and governance strengthening exercises that we want to share with you for you guys to be able to do and get better and improve on a monthly basis. Okay, so we talked about those roles one more time. And I always talk about the word navigate. If you just think about navigation, okay, to execute your role, the board needs to navigate the course to excellence. So the necessary and valuable information to gain action towards excellence. Navigate. Okay, it's the board's job to navigate. You see your organization heading in the wrong direction, you need to navigate it back. The only way you can navigate it back is by getting the information in a timely manner so you can ask strategic questions and get it back to where it's supposed to be. Now let's talk about your responsibilities as board members. Okay, let's just talk about these 4 aspects, okay? Of recruitment, cultivate, and enhancing the organization. Okay, you should always be recruiting board members and critical friends. This is your governance model. Should be made of board members and critical friends. And critical friends, I consider, could be third parties, could be local university partnerships. Okay, these individuals can sit on your ad hoc and your standing committees to do the deeper dive work of the board. Leadership, school executive and leadership team, employees, teachers and staff, stakeholders, partnerships, and families. Always, always, always be recruiting. Now, this doesn't mean that you recruit a teacher who comes and gets hired. It's you recruit a potential teacher that you provide the information to the school leader and you go through the proper channels. Okay? Recruit, cultivate, and enhance the organization. Be constantly doing this, okay? Because you want to be the best. To be the best organization, you need the best people. You should always be in a state of recruitment. Now, what can we do to make our board more effective? Establish a year-round recruitment committee. Link recruitment to the strategic plan. Right? Every year you're doing your survey and you're checking what skill sets do we have. You want to write a board director job description. You should make sure you have its clarity so when you're recruiting somebody, you specifically tell them, hey, this is what you would be responsible for. And be profiling the current board. And just make a commitment to building diversity on your board. Okay. When you're recruiting based upon skill sets, so you want individuals to have strong fundraising, finance, facilities, governance, human resources, public relations and marketing, policy development, education, business, and nonprofit. And always want to be thinking about gender, age, experiences, race. I highly recommend you use the committee structure to engage and develop your future board members. This lets you see how they work in your organization, right? How like-minded are they? How do they work as a team? Now, once you bring them on board, it's your responsibility to develop them. Every board should have a board member binder that has the charter application, the agreement, the bylaws, the policy manual. open meetings law, charter school law, policy school law, public school law, the expectations as a member, what are the school's goals and measures. They should also know what the hiring process is. I want to know what the hiring process is as a board member because I'm going to be asked to vote on this, and I want to know what process they went through. I don't need to check out their resume. I don't need to know what their references said, but I need to know that they went through a rigorous process in order to work here. That's what I would want to know. This would also be a professional development, a rotation annually from roles and responsibilities, nonprofit strategic planning, fiscal planning and management, parliamentary procedures, analyzing and evaluating reports, marketing, media relations. These are all ideas that you could have in your professional development. Remember, you are who you attract. You are who you attract. So if you're not recruiting if you're not getting good board members or good board member applicants, you have to think about, why is this? How could this be? Is it because they're not clear on what they're supposed to do, or they don't want to be part of our organization? That the perception's out there that we're not a very good school? I mean, what is it? So create a list of character traits, skills, gifts, and idiosyncrasies of the individuals that are best suited for your organization and go and get them. Everybody has someone in their inner circle that they could at least bring as a potential board member. Okay, your next responsibility is to hire, supervise, and evaluate the charter school's lead administrator. Right? So you, the board, supervise and evaluate one person, the lead administrator, the head of school, the executive director, whatever your organization calls them. It's their responsibility to handle everybody else. The lead administrator is the only staff member supervised and evaluated by the board. Staff and parent concerns should always be redirected to the school administration or go through the school's formal grievance procedure. And here's what a design of the structure looks like. You've got your board of directors, you've got direct lines to the lead administrator and the standing committees, and that's it. There's no other lines, no other direct lines. Lead administrator has direct lines to charter school staff and the student parents and the community. They also have an indirect line to standing committees. The students, parents, and the community and staff have an indirect line through public comment or grievance. This is the design of the structure. It should always be like this. It's important for a board to understand what is a grievance at our school. What is public comment? And you should have some clear guidelines of both. And in my opinion, a grievance should only be heard if the grievance is that the principal or the organization did not follow its current policies. The grievance should not be that I don't like the answer. It should only be based upon whether the school followed its current policies. Here's another way to look at the partnership. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the governance, partnerships, and operational. Okay, so governance, mission, goals, evaluative measures, and leadership duties. Okay, that's the board's decision, and the principal provides advice. Down at the bottom, operational, staffing, program, and systems. The board provides advice, but the administrator makes the decisions. Okay, and the board evaluates the administrator based upon their ability to make those decisions. What are some shared decisions? Could be authorizations, who has access, finance policies, enrollment, employment terms. Okay, those are shared decisions. It's important that the board communicates responsibilities with clarity. So let's look at the board's responsibilities are to set, measure, evaluate, discuss, and decide. They ask how well questions. How well is our education plan meeting our current needs of students? How well is our financial third-party provider helping managing our fiscal resources, giving us the information to make better decisions? It's management's responsibility to lead, develop, and deliver. They answer with tangible evidences and the how these things are happening, right? When I ask how well the education plan is, I want the lead administrator to be able to tell me, well, based upon The education plan and the new programs that we bought, we've seen a rise in student fluency or comprehension or math, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. Take a listen to our Asking Strategic Questions to learn more asking how well question strategies. Another responsibility of the board is to ensure trust and unity. Right? Continue to strive for and do everything possible to maintain a relationship of trust between the board and the administrator. No trust, no unity is no progress. And if a school isn't moving forward, it can only be moving backwards. Right? And this is when you'll see a lot of destination disease behavior start to come into play. Okay? Someone doesn't trust someone, the flywheel starts to slow down. Okay, there's just a constant behaviors and actions that are polluting the organization. And in every board that we've been asked to come and support, or every school leader, there's always been the lack of trust. If you read the 5 dysfunctions of a team, the basis for everything in an organization is trust. And don't think that the stakeholders and staff and teachers don't see this lack of trust. They most certainly do. Very, very important to keep open communications. It's the board's responsibility to make certain programs are effectively evaluated. So your academic program measured by internal and external assessments. Okay, your internal assessments could be some school-made assessments, formative assessments, quarterly benchmarks. The external assessments are easy. They could be your EOGs, they could be your SAT-10s, they could be your NWA maps. I mean, whatever you use. Okay, so internally and external assessments. Your operational programs are faithful to the terms of the charter, compliant with statutory laws. So 2 aspects of that charter. 1 is your charter agreement that you had with the authorizer, and 2 is a charter application that you wrote that was approved by the state board and compliant with laws. How are you verifying that those things are happening? And that you're a viable organization. You're financially solvent with a competent professional staff. Again, that's ensuring that teachers are evaluated annually, the school leaders evaluated annually, that there are strong professional development systems in place, and teachers are being developed. There's multiplying leadership capacity within the organization. Let's take a deeper look at the academic oversight. So you take responsibility for student learning and meeting the academic performance criteria set by the charter. So board members should just at least know what the education plan is. If you're a project-based learning school, if you're a direct instruction, focused behavioral management, school, are you, what are you? Set clear evaluative measures. Okay, this is working with the principal and making sure, here is what our academic goals are for next year. Request evidences of deliverables monthly. Okay, go to our outcomes-based calendar session. It's really great, and it talks about how to create a calendar that focuses on getting the right information each month. Ensure teachers can implement with fidelity. So what does this mean? This means that if you have a project-based learning school, but you don't hire any teachers that know how to implement a project-based learning model, you're probably going to have some very varied results. The board's responsibility that teachers are equipped to carry out the education plan. Read reports and investigate unacceptable results. Do not stick your head in the sand. Don't micromanage, but ask good questions. Let's look at operational oversight. So take responsibility for operational compliance on meeting the specific criteria set in a charter. So just know the operational overview. Make sure that the principal has created clear job duties for everybody. Set clear evaluative measures for the executive, for the lead administrator. Know the law, fix compliance issues immediately. Ensure the leader has the resources and training that they need to carry out. Request specific evidences of success each month. Read reports and investigate unacceptable results. In our head of schools report that we create for our principals, it specifically has a whole section on compliance. Right? We also try to build a strategic calendar, with that has all those compliance reports to the state. And the Office of Charter Schools has done a good job this year. They've got a newsletter that comes out now that lets you know about some of those reporting, goals as well. So it's very, very important that boards keep their school leaders on top of compliance issues. In financial oversight, take responsibility for the financial vitality and compliance while meeting the specific criteria set in the charter. So understand revenue versus expense reports. Every board member should have a decent understanding of how their school gets money. Right? State money based upon the first 20 days ADM, the average daily membership. That's kids physically sitting in a seat, not enrolled, sitting in a seat. So the first day that they come starts their membership. Okay, you get money from the state, you get money locally. Most schools get federal money. You definitely get EC money. Some schools accept Title II money. So they should have a decent understanding of how they get revenue. Set clear evaluative measures for your finances. Every year, your goal is to save $200,000, and every quarter, you should be saving about $50,000. If I only save $40,000 the first quarter, I don't adjust my goal, I adjust my action. Now I need to save an additional $3,300 each month to make up that $10,000. Okay, how do we adjust that action in the budget? Analyze reports monthly and investigate unacceptable results. Also, responsibility, develop and uphold charter school operational policies which are lawful, fair, and provide protection to all the school's constituents. And these should be reviewed each year. Formally approve the hiring or dismissal of any teacher or staff member who are recommended by the lead administrator or the hiring committee. But everybody should have an annual evaluation. In my opinion, every contract should be reviewed annually and updated. Finally, charter school boards are not expected to manage the day-to-day operations. That responsibility belongs solely to the school administrator. Do not micromanage. Anytime you're getting into a conversation, go back to that. Is this a how will or a how well? Right? How will or how well? Don't micromanage. So, do you have a clear board of directors roles and responsibilities contract? Okay. This is really easy to do. Write down all the roles and responsibilities that you want every board member to have. Number one that should be on there, board attendance, reading reports. Maybe you have an expectation of being at least on one committee. Maybe you have an expectation of bringing on at least one potential board member each year. If you don't have one, email me at tom@leadersbuildingleaders.com, leaders-buildingleaders.com, as you see on there, and I will be happy to send you a template that we use for our schools. So, time to reflect. Time to reflect on your roles and responsibilities. Remember, no trust, no unity, no progress. So, what are some things as a board that you need to start doing? What are some things that you and as your board need to continue and strengthen, right? So these are things you already have in place, just need to get better at it. But what are some things you need to just stop doing? Okay? Please be sure to continue to go through this high-impact governance series once a month. You watch these videos, you go through the governance strengthening exercises, and you will see growth, and especially when you reflect. What do we need to start doing? What do we need to get better at? And what do we need to stop from our practice? Again, thank you for this time. That's my teaching for this session. Any questions or comments, feel free to email me at tom@leadersbuildingleaders.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @LBLeaders, and always go to our website, leaders-building-leaders.com. Thank you. I hope I added value to you. I know you added value to me by me going back through these roles and responsibilities. Have a great day.